Hello everyone, my name is Olujuwon and we'll be discussing mastering Power BI for data analysis today. Regarding the principles and tips on data analytics with Power BI, that's what we'll be talking about. The introduction says that I have a certification in Power Platform Development. I'm a Microsoft Certified Azure AI engineer, so I'm qualified to teach this course. Right, so my goal is to help others kickstart their career in data analytics. So what I'm going to be discussing in this class is Introduction to Data Analytics. We'll discuss who is a data analyst, the key skills that a data analyst needs, the case studies in data analytics, and data analytics workflow, and finally, we'll be introducing us to the Power BI interface. All right. So what is data? Data is a collection of facts, statistics, or information that can be collected, measured, and analyzed. Examples of data, we have numerical data, for instance, sales figures, temperatures, population statistics. Also, we have textual data like survey responses, social media content, or news articles. We also have visual data. We have images, videos, or infographics. Also, audio like voice recordings or podcast, just like as I'm speaking right now, it's data on its own. So, what are the types of data? We have quantitative data, numerical data that can be measured or counted, like height, age, income. And we also have qualitative data, which is descriptive data that can be represented like with qualities like colors, names, and other identities that you can attach to people or objects. And the data formats we all know, we have the structured format, we have the unstructured format, and we have the semi-structured data. The data that is organized in a fixed format, often in tables and spreadsheets like databases with rows and columns, and Excel sheet with rows and columns, are structured data. Unstructured data are data without predefined format, such as text images or audio files like emails, social media posts. Semi-structured data are those that are in a traditional database but still have some structure like JSON or XML files. All right. So I would like to discuss careers in data analytics. Career in data are so many. All they do is from either collecting data, store data, they clean the data, analyze the data, predict the data, or even govern the data or secure the data. Yes. So for those who are collecting or storing data, we call them the data engineers or the data architects. We also have those who analyze data, which are regarded as data analysts or business intelligence developer. Also, we have those who predict data using machine learning languages. We have the data scientists or the machine learning engineers. Also, we have the governance part of data about those who govern or secure data from being misused. So we have the data governance team. They can also be the privacy or cybersecurity team. All right. So before we start this course, I would like to take us through something I call the learning curve. The learning curve entails that one stays upright and determined regarding their learning. So as you're starting this course, fine. At start, it might seem fun, but at a point, be rest assured that there might be a point that you would feel you could not do this. But I assure you that you are able to scale through that process of thinking hard about it or thinking it's something you cannot achieve. By the time you get through that process and stay determined, you will definitely get it. And do not be discouraged. Even after getting it, you still feel like you are still not getting it enough. And by that time, you realize that there is still more to learn. But if you can push up that stage further, and that is the stage I would say you would tell yourself that yes, this made sense. And by the time you become an expert, they would begin to look for you. For instance, let's look at the possible earnings available for data analysts out there. All right, so I'll be sharing with you jobs around for data analysts. For instance, 1 week ago, we got an advert that says that a data analyst can earn between £50,000 and £70,000 per annum for analyzing data for company. We even have data quality analysts who earn up to 80,000 per annum. Some even get paid between 85,000 and 100,000 per annum in their job. So, depending on your determination, on which part of data you would like to explore. Just ensure that you have a standard portfolio that employers can always access. I assure you that it's a very rewarding career, and you would not have any reason not to enjoy your data analysis journey. Is that okay? So moving on, I would bring us into data analytics again. It is the process of analyzing raw data in order to draw out meaningful, actionable insights, which are then used to inform and drive smart business decisions. It's a form of business intelligence, enabling companies and organizations to make smart decisions based on what the data is telling them. All right, let's look at the type of data analytics. There is a part of data analytics that says description of the data analytics. So we call this descriptive analytics. It's all about what happened. They want to know what happened. Your stakeholders want to know what happened. But we call diagnostic analytics. They want to know why it happened, why this happened. That is all about diagnostic analysis. And predictive analysis will always talk about what will happen in the future. Predictive analysis entails forecasting. Forecasting a data, forecasting what will happen through the data that you have with you. And prescriptive analytics is like telling them, how can we make it happen? How can we get this resolved? So you're prescribing a solution from the data that you have with you. Now, who is a data analyst? A data analyst is a professional who collects, processes, and analyzes data to help organizations make informed decisions. They turn raw data into valuable insights by using various tools and techniques to identify trends, patterns, and opportunities. And what does a data analyst do? They define your question or problem statement. They collect the necessary raw data, clean the data so that it's ready for analysis, then analyze the data for you or your company or your business. Then they create visualizations from their findings. They share their findings with you or other members of the organization. And then we need to talk about the workflow. Okay, where can they work? They work about many other places, even aside the tech industry. The data analyst can work in a wide range of industries. As data-driven decisions are made in every sector, there are places where data analysts can work. Not even the tech industry alone. They can work in tech industry. They can work in finance and banking industry. They can work in the healthcare and pharmaceutical industries. They can work in the retail and e-commerce industries. They can work in the marketing and advertising industries, even manufacturing and supply chain industries, because the production processes, they get data in the processes. The logistic company, delivery route, managing inventory, they use data insight. Telecommunications, telecoms companies, they analyze network performance, reducing churn rates of customers, and also improving customer service. So data analysis is required in all sectors. And the key skills and tools you need for your data analysis to be a data analyst: you need technical skills. Spreadsheets, Excel, Google Sheets, know how to use them. Then SQL, you know how to get data out of a database through the correct queries. Data visualization tools like Power BI that we're talking about. We also have Tableau. It's a great competitor of Power BI. We have Looker, we have ClickView, and so many other of them. Having a programming language idea or being an expert in programming language like Python or R is an advantage in data analysis. Personal skills required for data analysis is: one, soft skills, communication skills, collaboration skills, being able to talk with your colleagues, being able to make findings with your colleagues, being able to communicate with them easily. But analytical thinking is so special that even AI can overtake our job because of the analytical thinking aspect. Analytical thinking is crucial in data analysis. Once you are able to do this critical thinking aspect of it, it enables you to be on top of your game. You are able to read a data, know the requirement, know the required columns in a table, know the required table from a database when you are asked to analyze a particular set of data. That is analytical thinking. Being able to get calculations done regarding some tables and columns, knowing what exactly to put together to arrive at answers. That is analytical thinking. Organizational skills. On the level of organogram, what level are you? Being able to interact with your subordinates, being able to interact with your colleagues, being able to interact well with your bosses, the stakeholders, and even those that are reporting to you. That's organizational skills. Attention to detail. Paying attention to detail is part of what makes a good data analyst. And presentation skills. Presentation, being able to present your findings, and also continuous learning. No, for instance, you're starting data analyst as somebody who does not have programming skills. You might learn it on the go as you be practicing as a data analyst. You can also learn Python, you can learn R language, you can learn other skills along just to fledge up what you have in your portfolio. All right, this time we'll be discussing Microsoft Power BI. I'll be introducing us to Microsoft Power BI to see what exactly it looks like. What is Microsoft Power BI? Okay, this is a Microsoft Power BI environment where queries are being processed, modeled, and visualized. So the Power BI environment looks like this, and we can always get data. So many ways to get data into the Power BI. So many ways. You can get data through clicking this place, and it will be able to have the common data sources available. Or you can go to File and click on Get Data. When you go to File and click on Get Data, you have access to common data sources. And even when you click on Get Data to get started, you can take you to other sources that are not even listed in that environment. These are other sources that are not even listed in that environment. So you have access to connect to other several sources to analyze the data they have in there. This is Excel. We have text CSV, we have XML, we have JSON, SharePoint folder, SQL Server database, Access database, and so many more. Even Google, Oracle, SAP, and so many others. So Power BI is so powerful that it can connect so many data sources. That's one thing that gives it an edge above so many of them. And the skills you need to become a master of Power BI would include data preparation, which is data cleansing and transformation, data modeling, data analysis, expressions, that's DAX, data visualization, and business knowledge. You have to have a knowledge of that business. Then they can call you a Power BI master or expert, right? So we'll be looking into data transformation tonight and get some data cleansed. Just like I've said, this class is going to be beginner friendly, that even somebody who has not used Power BI before would be able to pick something from the processes, because I'm going to simplify it for you. Now, to start with, let's look at a data we have in Excel. Here is a data, just one sheet, that has order ID, order date, product, category, region, sales rep, quantity, and sales amount. I want us to analyze this data using Power BI. But before we continue, we have to get the data cleansed first. Now let's get this data into Power BI. How do we get it into Power BI? Just like I've said, it's either we click on Get Data here and get the Excel workbook in, or we go to File, still click on Get Data and get the Excel workbook in, or you go to Get Data to get started and it will show you all data sources available and you still get the Excel workbook in. So 3 different ways to get your data. Here's the data. Let's break it into Power BI. Now we have this data here. At this point, this is what we call the data preview environment, where we are able to look into the data we want to break in. We have to check it here and ensure that we have selected that sheet to be imported into the Power Query editor. So once I click on transform data, it opens up the Power Query editor. If I click on load, definitely I'll be skipping the data cleansing process and going straight into modeling, which is not good for our analysis. We can only click on load when we are so sure that the data has been cleansed, when we are so sure that this data has been well structured. And who are those who will have gotten it structured? Maybe you are getting a data directly from a data engineer who has worked on these processes, on the ETL, to ensure that a data has been well structured and cleansed. But the best process or the best practice is to click on data transformation, transform data. Now once I click on transform data, it takes me to the Power Query editor environment. An entirely new window is opened. An entirely new window is opened. And the first thing we have to do when we have this environment is try to understand the data. the first thing you do before cleaning the data is trying to understand the data. This data you have in front of you, what do you do with it? You don't just jump on data without having to understand the data. All right, so I will introduce you to the Power Query Editor environment. On the left side, we have the queries. Any data you bring in will be on the left side on your screen. The left side has the queries. The tables are listed as queries. The right side has the query settings and the applied steps. Just like I would say, among all Microsoft products, Power Query Editor of Power BI does not use Ctrl-Z. It only uses applied steps. This is where we are able to cancel any applied steps. This is called a steps recorder. It records every step we take in our data cleansing process. All right, so here we have the tabs. We have the Home tab, we have the Transform tab, we have the Add Column tab, we have the View tab, the Tools, and the Help. But for your data transformation, you will only be needing these four: the Home, Transform, Add Column, and View. And also in the lower part of the screen, we have the table statistics. This says 8 columns and 100 rows. Your column profiling based on top 1000 will always be the default. You can say column profiling based on entire data sheet. All right, but we can leave it on the default that says top 1000 rows. All right, one thing we can also look into is the column distribution would expose what is happening with each column. The column distribution shows this is 100 distinct, 100 unique. That shows that our order ID is in order. And for those who are not fully unique and distinct, it doesn't matter in some cases, especially when you have order date. Data like order date, we can have 3, 4, 5 orders in a particular day. So we do not expect that we have so many unique or distinct order dates. But in some other cases, we have products, 7 distinct, 0 unique, means that some products were sold more than once or twice. And there was no product that was not sold more than once. That is why you are having 0 unique. So the column distribution is giving us an overview of our columns. And the column quality would tell us if we have errors in the column. Let's look around if you have errors. No, this table does not have an error, but we can still have data to clean up. For instance, this says we have 27% empty, 73% valid. Definitely we have to look into this data. Even from the data type, we can see that ABC is not appropriate for quantity. So one of those things we look into as data analyst is to ensure that this data type is correct. The quantity will either be in whole number and not in ABC text. All right, so moving forward, we can also look at other things to do about this data. Looking at the order date might just ensure that we have it in standard date and time. So the order date is in date data type. And looking into the quantity, let's standardize it now. How do we standardize it? For all those 2 that was written, 2, not written in the right format, we can do something by replacing the values. Right? So I'll be changing 2 to 2. That correction is currently being done. Now the next thing we can look into is to this 4 saying 04, while others are written as 4, we can also get it resolved. But to resolve this, because we can see that there are so many instances we have 08. So the best thing to do in this case is to make use of what we call column from examples. How do we use column from examples? Column from examples will allow us to set an example, and the system will intelligently give a smart return of what that column should be. For instance, this 04, I'm telling the system that it should be 4. So once I click on enter, it has normalized it for others. We can see 08 has changed to 8. And everywhere 0 is coming in front or leading, it has been normalized. 05 has changed to 5. 02 has changed to 2. That is the essence of using column from examples. It saves us the stress of looking through each rows. Now that we have a column that is more standardized, we can discuss this column. Remove. Now, this column can now be called, now I'm renaming this to quantity. And I'm changing the data type to whole number because that is what makes sense. Now I'm bringing it here to the previous position. So we have quantity beside sales amount. Good. And we have some that are null. So where nothing is sold, we can decide not to analyze that. So when we filter this null out by clicking this and leaving only the rows where they have items sold, I can click on OK and notice that now I have 8 columns, 73 rows. Before or previously, we had 8 columns, 100 rows. But when I filtered out the null values in quantity, the rows reduced. Now the table statistics says 8 columns, 73 rows. So we are dealing with 73 valid rows. And now we can see that the column quality says we have 100% valid data. 100% valid data for quantity. Now we are rest assured that we are working with valid data for quantity. This sales amount, we can leave it in this decimal number or we can put it in fixed decimal number. That is very, very possible. All right. So now that we've been able to cleanse this little data, now let's move on to data loading. So once I click on close and apply, it loads my data into a model. As we can see, it's loading and syncing into the model. For instance, I even forgot to rename that table. Now we can decide to rename it even from here and double click it, change it to sales data, or just let's leave it as sales. And even from here, I can decide to transform it demand if there is something I feel has not been done. So when you go back to the home tab and click on transform data, it opens up the Power Query editor again. It is very possible. So for instance, I have a transformation I still have to do. I can still get it done in the Power Query editor. So just note that anytime you want to go back to the modeling stage, you just have to click on close and apply, and it moves to the modeling stage. That is where you are able to complete your processes of data transformation. Now here is the model. Once you click on this model view, it brings the table into this environment and it lists the columns here as models. So this is the entire model, the table, and this is where you are able to structure it. What can we do with this? We might decide to add some calculated measures, calculated columns, like a date table. So adding a date table ensures using what we call data analytics expressions, DAX. So now DAX will enable us to be able to create a date table and create a relationship with the other date. To do that, you just have to click on new table. And the new table would open up the formula bar for you, and you can call it date table. The usual formula for the date table is, let's say the calendar auto can be used. It opens us a bracket and we close it. So once you click on enter, it gets from the calendar in the table, it populates the appropriate calendar spanning the beginning of the order date to the end of the order date. Now here is the date table for us to have a look at. So the date matches the date here, and we can create a relationship. It's a one-to-many relationship and make it active. That is the importance of modeling in Power BI. You are able to create relationships between tables. All right. So having done a relationship between the date table and the sales, next class we would continue with visualizations. Thank you.